What if I told you the most hated villain in Red Dead Redemption 2 might not have been born evil? That Micah Bell's cruelty hides a truth Rockstar never explained, and that his story may be darker and sadder than we think. Micah Bell. The name alone makes players clench their fists. The backstabbing traitor who sold out the Van der Linde gang, the man who whispered poison into Dutch's ear, and the snake who stood grinning while Arthur Morgan, the soul of RDR2, faded away. We all hate him. But here's the strange part. Villains like Micah don't appear out of thin air, and if you dig deep enough, you start to see a picture of a man shaped by something far worse than greed. Think about this. Micah doesn't talk much about his past. He doesn't reminisce, doesn't share childhood stories, doesn't even seem to have real friends. In human psychology, that's a classic marker of trauma. People with broken beginnings often grow into one of two paths. They either crave love or they crave control. Micah clearly chose control. Now let's weave fact with what could be. Historically, the Wild West was full of orphans, families torn apart by poverty, war, disease. Imagine a young Micah, abandoned, neglected, beaten down by a world that didn't care. If every hand that should have fed him only struck him instead, why would he ever grow up believing in loyalty? Why would he ever trust love? Rockstar gives us crumbs of truth. Micah's father, Micah Bell Sr., is mentioned in passing and not kindly. He was a criminal too, a bitter man who lived in squalor. If Micah grew up under him, that means abuse, survival through violence, and learning that betrayal gets you further than honesty. Maybe Micah didn't betray the gang out of joy. Maybe, deep down, he believed betrayal was the only thing that ever worked. But here's where it gets darker. Micah's obsession with Dutch feels almost desperate. Notice how he clings to Dutch like a child fighting for a father's approval. That's no accident. Psychologists call this a trauma bond, seeking validation from a strong figure, even if it means destroying everything else. Micah wanted Dutch to see him as the chosen one, and in Dutch's madness, he finally found someone who valued him. And yet, notice something chilling. When Arthur accuses him, Micah never denies being a rat. He laughs, he smirks. That's not just arrogance, that's emptiness. People who've been broken beyond repair sometimes embrace the monster they've become. If the world always treated Micah like a snake, why not strike like one? But here's the twist no one talks about. What if Micah wasn't just a villain, but a reflection? A dark mirror of Arthur Morgan himself. Both were raised hard. Both learned violence young. Both served Dutch loyally. The only difference is that Arthur found someone who guided him, Hosea, the gang's quiet father figure. Micah never had a Hosea. Strip Arthur of love and guidance, and you might have Micah. In other words, Micah Bell is Arthur Morgan without the light. That's why his story stings. Because buried under his smirk and his cruelty is the possibility that Micah could have been saved, that he could have been something else if someone had believed in him before the darkness consumed him. And isn't that true for us too? Every villain is just a broken human who made the wrong choices, and every hero is simply someone who found the right guidance in time. Micah's life warns us of what happens when pain turns into hate, and hate turns into identity. So here's the truth. Micah Bell isn't just RDR2's villain. He's the living embodiment of what happens when loyalty is replaced with fear, when love is replaced with survival, and when the scars of childhood never heal. Hate him, yes, but understand him too. Because through him, Rockstar didn't just give us a snake in the grass. They gave us a tragic reminder of how thin the line is between good men and monsters. And that's the real secret about Micah. He's not just a traitor. He's proof that pain ignored becomes poison, which is why in life, you and I, We have a choice to let our scars control us or to turn them into strength. Don't become a Micah. Be an Arthur. Live with honor, even when the world tempts you to betray it. If this story gave you something to think about, then stick around. Because every time you subscribe, you're not just clicking a button. You're choosing to keep exploring truths hidden in the games we love and in the lives we live. And who knows? That one click might just be the small choice that keeps your story away from the darkness. Peace out.